Ya wema, lakini ile hatua tumechukua haraka tumeweza kudisama na tayari tumeweka kwa sel.
According to officers who spoke on condition of anonymity, the suspect had been dependent on the extra handouts from the sites to service loans and take care of his family. Suspension from the lucrative duties led him to desperation that could have resulted in yesterday's shooting. The suspect is being held at the town's police station before he is charged in court. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Tonight, the Shalom Community Hospital in Machakos is under the spotlight after a family claimed their 7-month-old baby reportedly died after he received a jab at the hospital as treatment for minor burns he suffered at home.
The parents say they took their baby to hospital after he was scalded by hot water on his left hand. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
It's a story of love and loss at its most poignant. A father devastated by the loss of his 7-month-old baby Ethan Mwendo. His parents say they rushed him to the Shalom Community Hospital in Machakos town after he suffered mild scars on his left hand from hot water.
Walichomeka na maji ya dispenser hapa, but haikuwa mbaya sana. So asubuhi nikaona nimpeleke hospitali, nikampeleka Shalom. Kaenda akaoshwa. Kwanza akadungwa sindano ya kurelieve uchungu. Kakuja kwa nyumba nika notice mtoto ako so weak. Nikajaribu anyonye but hakuwa anaweza kunyonya hata kidogo. Ka notice kuna some difficulties akibreathe. Kisha tukampeleka emergency. Tukaambiwa tutoke. Sijamwona tena. Sijaweza kumwona tena mpaka saa hii. Aniambia amefariki.
Their journey to the medical center, his father says, was the beginning of their journey of grief. His boy is said to have passed on 2 hours after a nurse administered an injection.
Dawa yenye walimdunga mtoto immediately akakaa amezubaa. Akawaambia ni dawa inaendelea kufanya kazi. Wakasema wanamweka ICU, sijui nini, sijui dawa amedungwa mingi. Within 2 hours mtoto akaaga. This guy is ile explanation wanatupea kitu so shoddy, kitu eleweki. Na wakaanza kurushiana nikawa wanataka kuficha ile kitu wamefanya. Mara wanasema ile dawa wamemdunga sio hiyo. Sasa sijui hii hospitali imekuwa too much. Mtoto amekufa akiwa ana kasoro yote kwa mwili. Hakuwa mgonjwa kabisa.
At the hospital, relatives and curious onlookers tried to get answers, but none were forthcoming. A bitter confrontation ensued between relatives and curious onlookers and the guards on duty who prevented them from gaining access into the hospital.
CID wamekuja wamechukua hiyo report, wamebeba hao watu wawili walihusika au manas, whether qualified ama si qualified sijui. Wampeleka kwa polisi wakaandika statement. But I'm wondering, hata statement imeandikwa ndio mtoto wangu nitatoa wapi? Hospitali inafaa kunieleza mtoto nitatoa wapi mwingine? Wameua mtoto wangu in short.
Just last month, a nurse and a hospital administrator were arrested after investigations by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board found that they did not have accreditation. KMPDU officials and officers from the Machakos County government made an inspection visit to the facility after a video of a woman giving birth on the floor went viral. She later denied any claims of negligence on the part of the hospital officials.
Because Kenya is lacking in quality, but I'm not done yet. You will see my teams on the ground coming to make a reassessment of all the facilities. Na zingine we will cancel.
Last week, St. Teresa Hospital in Kikuyu had its license revoked due to cases of negligence. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
We'll definitely keep tabs on that story because it's still developing, but an unusual trend and a very sad one of, medical negligence, the issue of jobs. And we've been covering stories from hospitals and doctors the same way we cover politics.
True, but we did hear the health CS say at the end of Sharon Baranga's report there that the government will be unrelenting in ensuring that those who are trained in the medical profession are up to standard.
Let's hope something works out.
Meanwhile, in Mandera, a police reservist was injured on Saturday night when suspected Al-Shabaab militants raided Hareri Hosle village in Mandera East sub-county. Mandera East Deputy County Commissioner Lawrence Omondi said a food store was looted during the attack.
Hareri Hosle is next to the Kenya-Somali border on the dangerous Mandera-Lafey-El-Wak route, which was closed by the government in 2015. The route was closed after the militants killed 28 passengers in a hijacked bus that was heading to Nairobi.
The Deputy Commissioner, Lawrence Omondi, said the militants were probably on a mission to restock food for Ramadan. 3 cows and 2 goats were shot and killed during the attack.
2 people were shot dead by armed bandits along the Tot-Chesongoch road in Elgeyo-Marakwet County.
Leaders from the area want the government to crack down hard on the criminal elements in the Kerio Valley belt, following claims that about 30 people had been killed in the region in the last 6 months.
The residents of Elgeyo-Marakwet gather to confront their collective problems. Ravaged and scarred, here they come with tales of profound brutality. 2 people were shot and killed along the Tot-Chesongoch road in Marakwet East. 19-year-old Dennis Kipkorir and 20-year-old Elijah Kipiatich were riding from the Tot Trading Center towards Kabetwa when they were ambushed by armed criminals believed to be from Kolowa Division in the neighboring Tiati sub-county.
Mimi nasikia uchungu sana kwa kijana yangu kwa sababu nilisomesha yeye baada ya batala ambaye angeniletea masao nyumbani ndio kawawa na hao watu ya Pokot.
Dennis was set to join Kenyatta University this year, where he had secured a place in the Faculty of Education.
Jana alimaliza kitatu cha 4 mwaka iliyopita. Ndio nikaona yeye kukaa nyumbani boring, nikatafutia yeye pikipiki.
This is the latest incident in what they say is a relentless campaign of violence. Leaders in the area want the government to take decisive action against those behind the attacks.
Tumesikia kule sijui Boni Forest, watu wako huko, the whole government inakuwa deployed huko. Tunasikia mambo ya Al-Shabaab upande wa Nairobi, the whole government inakuwa deployed hapo. Hii barabara peke yake, tumehesabu watu, wanasema maybe kutoka 1992 huko mpaka wakati wa sasa ni zaidi ya watu 30. Hii mwaka peke yake, tumepoteza watu 4. Kwa hii barabara peke yake, hatujasema sehemu zingine za hapa Kerio Valley. Kwa hivyo mnataka tupoteze wote ndio tuseme imefika mwisho ama namna gani?
Na kama mkuji, mara mingi nasema mchukueni polisi yenu, hakuna kitu anatusaidia. Kwa sababu wakati vitu kama hiyo inakuja, askari wanakuja masaa 5 baadaye, saa zile watu wamekufa tumewapeleka mochari.
Perennial insecurity in pockets of the Kerio Valley, whose territory stretches from the arid bushes of South Baringo to the misty hills of West Pokot, has baffled security officers and policy makers who are yet to find a lasting solution to the conflict that continues to ravage its people. Nuru Abdulaziz, NTV.
The head of the Anglican Church, Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, now says the church is not opposed to donations, but insists that politicians should watch their tongues when they take the pulpit.
This comes as political leaders said they should not be barred from making financial contributions or engaging congregants on matters of national importance. NTV's Zacchaeus Mosame has more.
ACK head Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit announced that the church was retaking the pulpit from the politicians, asking politicians to keep the dirty money to themselves. Speaking to a gathering in Garissa, Sapit kept the message that politicians should only take the Bible to the pulpit.
Tusitumie wakati wa ibada kama siku ya leo Jumapili iwe ni nafasi ya kutangaza mambo mengine ama kupiga upato kwa mambo na mazungumzo ya kisiasa.
Ole Sapit, kama kweli sadaka ya politician ni chafu, ile 8 million yenye mheshimiwa alikuwekea kwa briefcase, wewe Ole Sapit, rudisha hiyo pesa kwanza ndio tujue hautaki pesa ya wanasiasa.
Tunasema tumekataa pesa ya mtu yeyote, lakini nasema tutoe kwa njia ambayo ni staarabu, kwa njia ambayo itaheshimu Mwenyezi Mungu, isiwe ni nafasi ambayo tunatumia kana kwamba tunajipigia debe ama kana kwamba tunatangaza mambo mengine ambayo si ya Kikristo.
But in Nairobi, presiding bishop of AIC churches in the country, said the church will still keep its doors open to politicians.
When you are bringing that money to the church, will you allow us to take it secretly? If you are genuine. Because if you are giving it to God, you can bring it and say, Pastor, this is it. The Lord bless you. But if there is another motive, that is bad. Hakuna political statements. Lete pesa yako na usibikie vilimbi.
Sentiments echoed by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who said the church should not entirely kick out politicians, decline their donations, or even stop them from engaging the congregation in issues of national importance.
But you cannot, of course, a church bar anybody, even with their billions, from coming inside the church, because that is where they will meet God. On the topical issues, like corruption, we should never shy away. Not necessarily from the pulpit here, but speak, and so that we end up bringing the next generation. That generation should be better than our generation.
In Western Kenya, leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto defended his donations, saying the money was clean and legally earned. They were speaking at the Moi Girls High School in Nangili, Likuyani constituency, where they had attended a funds drive.
Kuna watu ambao tunajua hawaendi kanisa. The nearest they go to a church is a funeral. And the other nearest to a church they go for a memorial service. Kama jana tuliona Raila alikuwa makumbusho huko. Na akifika huko bado kwa kichwa yake tu ni William Ruto. Kwani you have nothing else in your head, ni William Ruto tu. Ingia kwa makanisa wasema ati pesa unatoa wapi ambao unatolea makanisa. Si atoe yake. Kama yeye ni mchoyo wako na mabilions kwa mabenki zao. Na hawezi toa hata kulipia mtoto fees peke yake hawezi toa. Sasa huyo ni mtu aina gani? Alafu akija hapa akifanya nyinyi mnafuata na mbio na mnacheka.
The 2022 succession politics also took center stage, with the leaders asking Western Kenya to rally behind the deputy president.
Sasa hizi nati nimeanza kufungua. Ninasema leta spana namba 8 wanaangusha kwa mkono, leta 11 wanaangusha. Nitafungua yote, Raila atakapokuja hapa atapata 0.
The leader said that the quest to occupy State House in 2022 by Deputy President William Ruto is unstoppable, and that all the attacks towards him are only meant to malign his name. They said that would not stop his intentions. Zakis Mwasame, NTV.
Meanwhile, politics at the pulpit continued, with Deputy President William Ruto downplaying claims of cracks within the ruling Jubilee party. The troubles facing the party became even more apparent as a section of leaders in the opposing camps went bare knuckle, accusing each other of rocking the boat from inside for selfish and personal gain.
NTV Silas Apollo reports.
The New Life Church in Kikuyu, Kiambu County, played host to leaders said to be opposed to the camp allied to Deputy President William Ruto. The team Kieleweke accused Ruto and his allies of undermining the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga for his 2022 ambitions.
Kuna mtu Uhuru amefungia nje, amesema Kalonzo kuwa hapo, Mudavadi kuwa hapo, hata wewe Ruto kuwa hapo, na kila mtu awe hapo. Lakini kwa sababu ya kutafuta kiti ya urais, wewe mtu mmoja hutaki Kenya yetu iwe na amani.
Kama sio handshake ambayo Uhuru Kenyatta alisalimiana na Raila na wakasikizana na Kalonzo, wakasikizana na Musalia Mudavadi, Uhuru angekuwa impeached na MPs wa Central Kenya.
But even as they spoke, some of their colleagues claimed the handshake had only benefited President Kenyatta and Odinga. They claim recent ambassadorial appointments were skewed and given to only those deemed loyal to either President Kenyatta or Odinga.
Naona watu wenye walikuwa wanatusi deputy president ndio wamepewa kazi. My brother Dr. Halwale, if you are looking for a job, there is only one qualification in this country. Answer kutusi deputy president and you'll be given a job. Rais, kumbuka Waluya huku, kumbuka Wameru huku, kumbuka sijui Wateso huku.
DP Ruto has however insisted that the Jubilee party is still united and that talks of division were from those seeking to undermine the party. Ruto was speaking in Githunguri, Kiambu County, said contrary to opinions of critics, Jubilee also enjoys support from across the country.
Jamii zote za Kenya ziko ndani ya Jubilee, kutoka Coast na mpaka Western, mpaka Nyanza, Central, Rift Valley, Northeastern, sehemu zote chama ya Jubilee imetuunganisha. Imetupatia rais, imetupatia wabunge karibu 200 na tuko na serikali.
The ruling party has over the past months been rocked by inner divisions, which critics argue is a result of the alliance between President Kenyatta and Odinga. On one side is the team said to be in support of the handshake, while on the other hand is the team which has accused Odinga of using his truce with Kenyatta to undermine Ruto's political ambitions in 2022. Claims that Odinga has denied. Those in support of Ruto have also linked the ongoing war on graft to attempts to sabotage Ruto's 2022 ambitions, despite warnings from President Kenyatta that the war should not be politicized. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Deputy President William Ruto has come out to defend Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu against graft claims made against him, saying the Kiambu County boss should only be questioned on matters relating to his county and not on national government issues.
And as that unravels, the Office of the Controller of Budget now says the Auditor General's findings on Kiambu County's bizarre budget did not feature in the budget that was approved. NTV's Zainab Ismail reports on the drama that has seen some leaders call for Waititu's arrest.
Huyu baba yao asiwekewe msalaba ambayo sio yake. Aulizwe ya Kiambu, ile ya national government sisi tuulizwe. Kwa hivyo wewe baba yao usikuwe na wasiwasi, hiyo ya South Sudan former president sisi tutajibu. Wewe pambana na hii ya Kiambu, wewe ujibu hii ya Kiambu hapa.
The Deputy President, who spoke at All Saints Catholic Church, Kamodhai Parish in Githunguri, stood by Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, who has come under fire over his county's curious expenditures. And appearing more confident from his session with the Senate earlier in the week, Waititu termed the accusations against him a political witch hunt. He said the revelations took him by surprise. The Senate heard that the county had allocated 973 million for the coordination of State House functions, 58 million for the South Sudan peace process, and another 804 million for free primary education, all of which are functions for the national government. But in another twist, the Office of the Controller of Budget now says the items neither featured in the county's 2017-2018 annual budget nor its 2017-2018 supplementary budget. Part of the statement from the COB reads, and I quote, "The items also did not appear in their quarterly expenditure reports submitted for that period. We would therefore like to state that the Controller of Budget is not aware of these items." The situation in Kiambu has definitely set off a political storm. Leaders allied to the Kieleweke camp are turning on the heat, calling for Waititu's removal from office.
Kama DPP na DCI hawatafanya jambo Kiambu, sisi Wanjiko ambao tulipiga kura, sisi tutatokea nje na mabawa na tutasema tosha, imetosha. Waitito lazima atuambie pesa yetu iko wapi.
Shughuli ya Ikulu inashughulikiwa na budget ya county. Sijaamini mpaka leo. Na sijaamini kwamba ndani ya hii budget kumekuwepo atina shughuli ya kuleta usalama na amani South Sudan. Mimi sijaamini.
The day Waititu said what he said in bunge, angetoka bunge, angetoka na pingo.
Waititu, in his defense from the Senate, said his officers had borrowed a template from Treasury to guide their budgeting but forgot to make changes. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Did Mheshimiwa Kajwang say pingu or pingo? Was I hearing my own
He said pingo. But from those very high temperatures of politics, it's time we take a break.
But coming up, we bring you the story of the blue bikes of Nyanza and how they're keeping girls in school.
NTV Weekend Edition with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Welcome back. Now, teenage pregnancy may not be a new thing in Kenya, but in Seme sub-county in Kisumu, the situation is causing parents and education stakeholders sleepless nights. The number of teenage mothers has soared.
Okusa visited 2 villages in the area and brings you the story of Sharon and Naomi, 2 mother students who are among the hundreds of young girls who are getting a second chance at doing life better in the face of unwanted pregnancies.
We got to Wawaria village at the break of dawn. Right on time to catch Melvin Sharon Akoth setting off for school. Sharon is a Form 3 student at Engineer Owiti Abol Secondary School.
Now I'm leaving home exactly 6 a.m. and reach at school 6:15 or 6:20. Yeah, if I delay on the way.
20 kilometers away at Kakoth village, Naomi Akinyi is putting final touches on her dawn studies. It is already 5 o'clock, meaning Naomi has exactly an hour left to prepare and leave for school.
Naamka saa 10 nikisoma, afu naenda shuleni kitu saa 11:30. Naenda shuleni huko inaitwa Demo Secondary School. Hapa nyumbani kuna shida. Unajua ukitoka shuleni lazima ukimbie kama msichana, ufanye kazi. Sasa kupata hiyo nafasi ya kusoma inakuwa ngumu na light. Hii kitu inani affect much, but sasa I've accepted the situations. Haitafanya sana ati nikose kusoma sababu ya ninio mwangaza.
The 2 teenagers may not be aware of each other's existence, but the glaring similarities in their lives is just amazing. For starters, both girls are doing their 3rd year in high school, and they are both mothers. At age 18, Sharon is a mother of 1.5-year-old boy, while Naomi, who is 19, has a 3-year-old son. Both Sharon and Naomi are total orphans living with their aunts.
Watoto mimi nachunga ni watoto 3 sasa. Naomi na ndugu yake na hii mtoto yake.
Sharon ni mtoto ya ndugu yangu. Baba yake na mama yake nafariki.
While Sharon was impregnated by a local fisherman who scampered the moment he learned of the pregnancy, Naomi, on the other hand, conceived with a 22-year-old high school boyfriend who rejected her together with her pregnancy.
Kaa nyumbani for 1 year 2016. Alafu ndio tena nikarudi shuleni 2017. Sasa nilikaa 1 year hiyo ya 2016 nikimlea, alafu ndio nirudi shuleni baadaye.
But the list of similarities cannot be closed without mentioning the blue bicycles. Sharon and Naomi are among thousands of beneficiaries of a project dubbed Bicycle for Education and Empowerment, BEEP, a partnership between Plan International, World Bicycle Relief, and the Ministry of Education.
Though we put more emphasis on girls, in any school you are targeting, at least we ensure that 70% of girls have received bicycles and 30% of boys receive their bicycles.
BEEP was introduced in Kisumu County in 2016, and Seme Sub-County identified to pilot the program due to increased cases of unwanted pregnancies in the area. Incentives like free rides to school were discovered as some of the tactics unscrupulous boda operators employ to lure young girls into premarital sexual relationships.
So since 2016, we've been able to provide around 3,000 bicycles to both girls and boys in around 25 schools in Kisumu. Yeah. Though we've gone as far as Bondo and Homa Bay. Yeah.
Anne says that only those students living 3 kilometers away from school qualify for a bicycle.
We are also looking at vulnerable girls and boys. That is, could be an orphan, a total orphan or partial orphan, or maybe the parents could still be alive, but they're from vulnerable families. We are also targeting child-headed households.
The project is said to have triggered an impressive increase in school enrollment, while at the same time contributing to a sharp fall in the number of teenage mothers attending school.
About 95% were mother students, those who sat KCSE last year. But now, because of the empowerment that they have been given, it has reduced. Now the mother students that we have has gone down by about, we are now having very few of them, about 15%. Yeah, as compared to what we had last year.
But for Sharon and Naomi, the bicycles have not only shortened the time they spend to get to school, but also increased the hours they spend on books, hence posting pleasant grades. Naomi, for instance, has been topping her class in nearly all the examinations. Besides the improvement on classwork, the bicycles have also helped the young mothers to save some time for their children. Okukusa, NTV.
Wow, amazing story there by Okukusa. Isn't it amazing that these young girls have to fight through the grips of predators, still fight through the grades in school so that they can have a better future and hope for tomorrow, and still they're competing with other girls across the country.
True.
Quite amazing.
But coming up after this break, we bring you the story of soldiers who are battling a different kind of enemy, and that is the enemy within.
They are our first line of defense, protecting the country from foreign threats. For these soldiers, they are always on the front lines, but even when they return, some still live in the front line, fighting the battles ravaging their minds.
When they come back, they are not the same soldiers that went to war.
Go slowly and scan southwest.
A Kenya Defence Force soldier who killed himself after killing his lover and two relatives in Jubilee, that's in Eldoret, has been described as problematic or a problematic person by the neighbors who knew him.
A drinking spree that should have ideally ended in a good night's sleep instead ended with 3 people dead and a village in shock. Haron Tioni, a KDF officer attached to Lanet Barracks, arrived at his aunt's home disgruntled after a night of drinking and insisted that his aunt Rose Sang wakes up and helps him resolve a spat with his lover Dorcas Lorraine Nyoya. In the heat of the argument, Haron turned his gun on his lover and his aunt. He later drove to his uncle's house and shot him too before killing himself. Haron served in Sudan and Somalia on several peacekeeping missions, but he was constantly living in the line of fire. His peers and family members say he often suffered panic attacks, was constantly irritable, and easily got into fights. Sadly, he is not alone.
It's an unfortunate case. People are not able to manage their own stress.
Where is recognition for all the strong people who fought for peace? Can we save the lives of all the strong people who fought for peace?
Every word of this song seems to pierce Lucy Mukeria like a bullet. She wrote this song in honor of her brothers and sisters in arms, some still alive, some long dead. She's now retired from the Kenya Defence Forces, where she served for 10 years as a psychologist and rose to the rank of major. Today, a psychologist is the last title she would use to describe herself.
I like to think of myself as a rabbit farmer, living my best life, and a creator, an inventor, and up until recently, a musician.
Lucy turns to music to help her heal from the scars of war, but her song isn't just drawn from her own experiences on the war front.
The song is called Where is the Recognition? And Where is the Recognition basically is about mental health, specifically to do with psychological war wounds that impact on soldiers.
According to psychologists, one suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder if exposed to one or more events that have involved or threatened death, threatened serious injury, and or threatened sexual violation.
Is to humanize the experience.
Even though she was a counselor to Army veterans, Lucy had to wake up to the reality that she too had been affected by experiences in the front line when the symptoms began to unravel.
I went to actually a point I started getting panic attacks, you know, and that signaled a lot for me, that inability to go to the wards, the inability to, you know, see dead bodies once again. It never used to be a problem to me, but I had to wake up to the reality of where I was, as to why my heart was racing, why my palms were getting sweaty, why my thoughts were racing, why I wasn't sleeping at night, why I was beginning to feel hopeless. I just wanted silence.
Lucy is just one of many who came back home with the psychological scars of war. Ex-Special Forces officer Byron Odera says that even though he is home now, he has never been the same.
As you can imagine, transforming an individual into a military practitioner takes quite a bit of a change in so many ways. You know, there's a character change, there's a culture change, the whole perspective change, and then of course you go through very traumatic experiences. So that changes the whole, you know, you in profound ways. People who suffered trauma of different categories, like myself, didn't ever get to sit before someone to be helped. So some of us struggled through this alone and possibly just picked ourselves up, and through learning and a lot of mental strength, you know, picked ourselves up and forged ahead.
Byron says that nothing prepares you for life after service.
We've had men who've killed themselves, there are men who've set themselves on fire. I have a personal friend who did, and you know, sustained over 90% burns 4 days in an ICU. He died.
Susan Gitau is a volunteer counselor for the Army veterans. She explains the toll it takes on families.
Families say, Daddy, if it's the children, went to war, he's come back a different man. If it's a woman, she says, my husband is not the same anymore. They look like the foot soldiers. Or definitely they are the foot soldiers. You're not at the war zone, but you've basically gone with your significant other there.
In the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs dedicates a section of their website to reach out to and help veteran soldiers suffering from PTSD. Here in Kenya, the government has come under fire for not doing enough to prepare veterans for civilian life.
Nobody knows, nobody cares. If you hear anything outside of that, it's a lie. Even I don't blame the military. I don't. I literally don't blame them. I'll tell you why. There is nothing that mandates them to take care of military veterans. So they are not breaking any law. They might be breaking a moral law, but they're not breaking a legal law. And so that's why having a veterans law in this country will save us all. Will save so many marriages, will save so many families, will save so many children.
I'm not saying they're doing nothing, but I'm saying there's a lot more that needs to be done. In our case, we may have gone into war, and because we didn't have that proper understanding of how this would play out, then we didn't even have structures in place to address that downside of people who would come out of the same impacted mentally.
The underlying message, it would seem, is that there are not enough functional and practical structures in place to help veterans when they get home from war. So I went to the Department of Defense to find out what it is exactly they do to support their soldiers when they return home.
Kenya Defense Forces has a medical scheme, a Defense Forces Medical Insurance Scheme called DEFMIS, which now the people who retire, their medical issues are taken over by that organization, which now one is entitled for medical care for life.
And there is more.
Support of the soldier is not only the soldier himself. We need even to support the families. And KDF has come up with what we call welfare centers. In every battalion, there's a welfare center, which is manned by counselors, social workers, and other specialists to be able to take care of the soldier, welfare of the soldier, and welfare of the families.
It is not just veterans who are provided with support. According to Chief Nanga, soldiers in active duty are now also assisted to mind their mines.
As we deploy our soldiers in operations and other areas, we know there's a likelihood some of them will present with post-traumatic stress disorder. So we start with prevention. Prevention, awareness, and deploying people, medical people, who are trained to recognize any changes in behavior in the military. And these people, the medical people, are embedded in the troops.
Soldiers are human beings and who have feelings and who have the same struggles as everybody else. And then beyond that, they're the people who've given their lives and signed up to the serious business of protecting this country. People who've signed up to the highest, amount that could be written on a check, which is I could pay with my life, deserve a bit more.
I really pray for the day the president of this nation will mention about PTSD. Mention, to hear from him. Do they tell him? Does he know? Or even when they explain it to him, does he understand? Because if this is understood very well, I'm telling you, all of us, all the sectors will do their best.
Mr. President, the soldiers need your support. Please lend them your support.
Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Impressive reporting there by Anita Nkonge on a very pertinent issue. But Dennis, the only time I've heard about PTSD is when I'm watching American series. How prevalent is it?
Well, in Kenya, it's not very, very open. It's the reason why you see that in a lot of American movies and series is because they have what you call the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, and they put these figures out from the wars that they have fought, all going back to Vietnam, where you'll get figures like 31% of the veterans have suffered from PTSD. Then from Desert Storm, the Gulf War, you have around 11%. The latest one that I think I remember seeing was this one from Afghanistan, which is around 11%. So they give these percentages, and it's just public information. In Kenya, we don't quite have that yet.
Okay. We take a break on that note, but when we come back, we fast forward and look at the events that you have to look forward to this week.
I need a love.
Good to see you. Now, as promised, let's take a look at the events we have to look forward to this week. Now, subject to the moon sightings, Muslim faithful are due to start observing Ramadan this coming week, the 9th month of the Muslim calendar. The holy month of fasting begins and ends with the sighting of a new moon. Now, let's move on to the August House and take a look at what we expect there. Now, the National Assembly is expected to go on recess on Thursday to allow committees to meet stakeholders on the budget policy statement. Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, is also expected to submit the names of ambassadorial nominees for vetting. Thirdly, the Speaker is also expected to issue a way forward on the stalemate over the allocation of funds to the county governments in the Division of Revenue Bill. away from the August House to another arm of government. And this time, we're looking at the cause list in the courts. Hearing on the Sharon Otieno murder case is scheduled to begin tomorrow. If you will recall, Migori Governor Okoth Obado is charged together with others for her murder and that of their unborn child. The court will also rule on whether former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero will be tried for authorizing payments amounting to 213 million to various companies for services not rendered between January 2014 and 2016. The courts are also expected to give direction on the prosecution of prominent lawyer Asa Nyakundi for the killing of his son after the Director of Public Prosecutions applied to withdraw the manslaughter charges against him and charge him with murder. And as government puts the number of those who registered for a Huduma number at 23.5 million, the case challenging the legal aspects of its implementation is back in court for a mention on Tuesday.
Well, I get accused a lot of not doing what I'm just about to say in this next story, where did you know that today is World Laughter Day? Now, the first celebration was done way back in 1998 in Mumbai. This is in India, where 12,000 people drawn from laughter clubs are reported to have taken part in a mega laughter session. Outside of India, the first World Laughter Day gathering took place in Copenhagen, Denmark, 2 years later in the year 2000, attracting more than 10,000 people and making it into the Guinness Book of World Records. Since then, World Laughter Day is marked every first Sunday in the month of May. What are some of the benefits of laughter that you've experienced? I'm not missing out a lot on this.
What do you mean you're missing out on some of the benefits of laughter? There you go.
No,
it's not so
on.
hard.
Like, seriously, how do you go on the streets and just that ha 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 ha?
Apparently, I was researching this story. There's something called laughter yoga.
Laughter yoga?
Yes.
So you get into that meditative state and start laughing?
I don't know much about it. But there's a tried and true methods of watching a good comedy.
Oh yeah, that one works at least. We'll take a short break. Sports is coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Gor Mahia lost out on a chance to solidify their lead in the Kenyan Premier League after they dropped points to Western Stima, while Sofapaka couldn't take advantage of Kogalo's slip-up as they also drew with Tusker. This as 6 KPL games today produced 9 goals and 3 0-0 draws.
It was a hard-fought battle at the Moi Stadium in Kisumu as hosts Western Stima took points away from defending champions Gor Mahia, the two teams playing out to a barren draw. The stalemate takes Kogalo's points tally at the summit of the log to 60, while Stima lies 13th on 31 points. Tusker rallied from 2 goals down to secure a late 2-2 draw with second-placed Sofapaka in a dramatic game in Machakos. Umaru Kasumba and Brian Magonya put Batoto Bamungu 2-0 up after 47 minutes. But the Brewers put in a spirited fight back with a goal apiece from Boniface Mushiri and Rogers Aloro. Sofapaka are 7 points behind leaders Gor Mahia, while the Brewers lie 7th on 39. Meanwhile, Bandari stayed put in 3rd place with 49 points after sharing the spoils 0-0 with Posta Rangers at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Posta remains 15th on 26 points.
We've tried because we've been scoring goals. So today game, I wasn't so much pleased with the body language of the players because somehow they were dragging.
After first half, I knew the results. It's going to be 0-0, or maybe we are going to lose. In fact, having this 1 point, we are lucky.
At the Kasarani Stadium, Kakamega Homeboys continued their fine form in the league, this time cruising to a 3-0 win over the troubled Kariobangi Sharks. David Okoth opened the day's account in the 6th minute before captain and current KPL top scorer Alan Wanga converted from the spot in the 60th to net his 16th goal of the season. Peter Thiongo put it beyond doubt 8 minutes later to give Kakamega 3 goals and 3 points on the day, while exiling Kariobangi to their 11th winless match.
But I thank boys for the effort they've put in. Remember our last match we lost again at Tusker, and this is a very good comeback. And going forward, I just wanted them to put more effort that we make sure we finished in the top 5.
The rain in Kericho slowed down the game between Zoo FC and Sony Sugar as they played out the day's 3rd 0-0 draw. In the day's other game, Mathare were 2-0 winners away at AFC Leopards.
Definitely lots of action on the pitch. And Nyuki Starlets came from a goal down to upset hosts Makolanders 2-1 in one of 6 FKF Women Premier League matches played at Camp Toyoyo. Farida Nyarotso gave Makolanders the lead before Anne Anyango and Mary Majesso ensured maximum points for the Starlets. Kisumu Starlets, meanwhile, beat Z-Tech Sparks 4-0 in a swift comeback from their loss to Gasper Youth on a similar scoreline on Saturday. Jacinta Atieno and Mercy Airo each netted a brace as the Kisumu-based side cemented 4th place with 25 points from 11 matches. Spedag also picked up their first win of the season when they edged out Kayole Starlets 2-1 at the Stima Members Club. Paris Momanyi and Caroline Omondi were on target for Spedag, with Vida Wairimo netting Kayole's consolation. Always a good thing to see the ladies on the pitch. And Butali Warriors moved to 2nd place with a 7-0 thrashing of Strathmore University in the Men's Hockey Premier League. Meanwhile, the National Paralympics team has threatened to paralyze traffic at the Thika Superhighway once again on Monday, demanding to be paid their allowances, even as a team of 32 young players from the Chapadimba tournament will leave the country Monday evening for Catalonia, Spain for a 10-day training camp conducted by La Liga coaches.
Former Kenya Hockey Union Men's Premier League champions Butali Sugar Warriors showcased their intentions for this year's title with a 7-0 routing of Strathmore University in their clash at the City Park grounds. George Mulito and Franklin Karaoke scored a brace, with Moses Adamba, Constance Wakara and Collins Omondi scoring a goal each. Sikh Union and Parklands battled to a 2-2 draw in the other men's Premier League tie. JQATA and KU women drew 0-0 in the Women's Premier League, while Vikings and UON ladies played out a 1-1 draw. In other results, Nakuru beat Kenyatta University. KCA University educated Wazalendo Masters 2-1. Park Road Badgers beat Multimedia University by a solitary goal, while Mvita thrashed Bungoma 7-1 in the men's Super League tie. Meanwhile, the National Paralympics team that flew Kenya's flag in the 4th International Athletics meeting held in Marrakech, Morocco, have threatened to block Thika Superhighway once again, demanding the unpaid allowances. The team, comprising 54 athletes, are stuck at a hotel on Thika Road waiting for their allowances, despite harvesting a total of 42 medals, among them 11 golds. The team was scheduled to meet the Ministry of Sports officials, but the meeting failed to take place.
Yesterday we had a word with the ministry officials, and I believe that the allowances are going to be paid by tomorrow, being a Monday.
An all-star team consisting of 32 of the best players, 17 boys and 15 girls, scouted from across the country during the 8 regional finals of the Chapadimba and Safaricom was unveiled. The team that will attend a training camp in Spain leaves Nairobi on Monday, 6th May, to Catalonia, Spain, to meet La Liga coaches for a 10-day training camp. During their stay in Spain, the team will play against local youth sides, watch a live match between Barcelona and Getafe at Nou Camp, and have an opportunity to tour Barcelona. And in a bid to fight the rising cases of defilement in the area of Kaiti, Makueni County, a football tournament dubbed Kimulu Foundation Tournament was launched. The tournament that will run between May and August and will have 86 teams seeking to engage youth in the area away from wayward vices. The winning teams will be rewarded with motorbikes and cash to bolster their living standards. Meanwhile, Laikipia County and their Nyandarua counterparts won the 3rd leg of the Inter-County Golf Challenge at the Thika Greens Resort after tying on 89 points. Nakuru came second, 4 points adrift, while Machakos and Kiambu settled for 3rd and 4th on 77 and 61 respectively. Kiambu's Lewis Kimotho won the individual category on 43 Stableford points, with Jody Nyambura becoming the lady winner with a Stableford total of 38. The tournament brought together golfers from 27 team counties geared towards promoting golf at the county level.
And Chelsea boosted their chances of securing Champions League football next season with a 3-0 victory.
experts on laughter, so you can also show you have a laughing expert and something like that. But
there's opportunity to hustle.
Oh yeah, the hustle is real. Well, thank you so much for watching NTV Weekend Edition. My name is Dennis Okari.
I am Olive Burrows, and our sign language interpreter has been David Agondoa.